Hi, my name's Russ Weninger. I'm a lawyer with Weninger John. Today, the question is, should you try to avoid probate? Now, many people believe that probate, which is a court oversight of the estate administration process, they believe that this should be avoided at all costs. Now, while for some people in some jurisdictions, and notably these jurisdictions being BC and Ontario, for people in those provinces, avoiding probate is a worthwhile estate planning activity. In Alberta, putting a lot of effort into avoiding probate probably is not necessarily worth the effort. In BC and Ontario, probate fees are based on the size of the estate. So probate fees for a $1 million estate in Ontario will be somewhere around $15,000. If your estate is looking at paying that amount of money for an estate to be probated, it probably makes sense to take some steps to minimize the probate fees. A common strategy in BC and Ontario is to use two wills, one for probatable assets and another will for non-probatable assets. Now, in Alberta, probate fees max out in the hundreds of dollars rather than in the thousands of dollars. Here, the two-will strategy isn't commonly used. Often people residing in Alberta will attempt to avoid probate for certain assets, but this is more out of convenience than as a way of saving probate fees. One common strategy for avoiding probate on certain assets is to make use of joint ownership. It often makes sense for spouses and common law partners to hold certain property, such as real estate and some bank accounts, jointly. With the right of survivorship implicit in joint ownership, if one joint owner spouse dies, the surviving joint owner spouse will then automatically become the sole owner of the property in question. And while joint ownership makes sense for spouses, it's somewhat risky as an estate planning strategy for other relatives, such as parents and children and business partners. Another strategy for avoiding probate, at least on some assets, involves putting some of your assets into a family trust. This strategy makes sense in certain situations, but it has its share of disadvantages as well. It may end up increasing taxes that are payable in some cases, and it may restrict what you can do with your property while you're still alive. It should be noted that the probate process also has certain advantages. It arguably keeps everything above board when administering an estate, and thereby this is protecting the beneficiaries of an estate. And it can also help protect an estate and an executor from certain types of litigation. So for most people living in Alberta, a fixation on avoiding probate at all costs probably doesn't make sense. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comments section. Thank you for watching.